So we've got a lot of reading to dive into today. We've got a bunch of interesting things to discuss when it comes to two of my favorite teams, in the Vancouver Canucks and the Montreal Canadiens. Don't worry, we're not going to respond directly to the Craig Button saying that Elias Pettersson could be bought out conversation, because we just made a video about the contrary a few hours ago. Maybe we should give it a little bit more time. But nevertheless, we do have some other things that we can dive into, and I wanted to give a big shout out over to Lyle Richardson on Spectres Hockey, who's providing us with the scoops today. These are going to be two articles linked in the description from Spectres Hockey today and Spectres Hockey yesterday, because they give us some interesting talking points for my favorite teams. Let's start out with the Vancouver Canucks, actually, and how things are looking in Buffalo. This is going to be from Spectres Hockey on October 14th, so yesterday. Lyle starts out the article by asking, could the Vancouver Canucks or the Oilers pursue Alex Tuch? On Sakaris and Price, you had Daily Faceoff's Jeff Merrick saying that he believes the Buffalo Sabres could be an early seller if they have another poor start. He wondered how many players could be asking out by American Thanksgiving, November 27th. Merrick noted that Alex Tuch has not signed a contract extension. He's slated to becoming a UFA next summer. He pointed out that Tuch's wife is from BC and mused about a possible fit with the Vancouver Canucks, even though he wouldn't address that club's need for a second-line center. The Edmonton Oilers might be another possibility given their cap space after Connor McDavid agreed to accept a discount on a 2-year extension. Now, Spectre's note goes out there and says this, that Tuch has a 5-team no-trade list, and one or both of these teams may be on it. Assuming they're not, the Canucks and the Oilers do not have a lot of tradable assets to give up for Tuch. If the Sabres become sellers, they could find better offers from other clubs. And so this, obviously, is quite the interesting idea, because Alex Tuch is do I want to say he's a superstar? He's like right on the cusp there. He scored himself multiple 60-plus point seasons, and he reached 70 in one of his first years in Buffalo, almost hit 80. Tuch, while maybe not bringing point production necessarily this season, because nobody on Buffalo is, you would probably assume that if this guy gets tossed into a better offensive system and he's playing with a lot more talented players, not that Buffalo isn't talented, it's just Josh Norris is out for a while and nobody's really scoring on that team, Tuch probably can put himself in very good point production territory. I think he's got it in him. Now, whether or not he warrants a $12 million extension like some of the other wingers around the NHL have received, that's another question. I'd probably say not. Maybe Tuch could get 8.5 or 9. If he really wants to stretch it, maybe 10. But that's just kind of where I see this guy. Obviously, the value he provides to Buffalo as a leader and locker room figure, you can't really put a price tag on that in particular. But Alex Tuch, as a former Vegas Golden Knight who eventually found his game in there and became a Buffalo Sabre shortly after in the Jack Eichel trade, he's been pretty good. And if you're looking at the Edmonton Oilers, we already made a video talking about them potentially going after Tuch if the guy has himself some sort of a trade request scenario. Him and McDavid would be pretty good together, just thinking about the speed, although a lot of people like to say that fast players would automatically be a fit with Connor McDavid. Same could be said about Kasperi Kapanen, although that doesn't necessarily work out that way year in, year out. But the Vancouver Canucks are pretty interesting too. Wondering whether or not they'd be a fit for what Vancouver has on paper, I do question just how well Tuch can play center, because he is listed as a right wing /C on Elite Prospects, and he's a guy that I think has played center in the past. I do wonder if he is able to do that in a Vancouver Canucks system as a second-line center, getting tougher matchups against other teams' top 6 centers. I mean, it's not really something he's been doing lately, but if he's good at it, I do wonder if there is a possibility there. Also, Merrick mentioning that Vancouver could be an option because Tuch's wife is from here. That obviously is quite the interesting connection. Not sure if it's one that I think a lot of folks would buy into, but hey, if there is a connection to be made, let's make it. Vancouver, though, with Alex Tuch in the fold, if they could get his leadership onto the squad and get some sort of an American connection going with Thatcher Demko, Connor Garland, and of course Kent Hughes, that would be a pretty good thing, I'd say. There's a lot to like out of Alex Tuch as a hockey player, as a former Vegas Golden Knight who would torch the Vancouver Canucks almost every single game. But ultimately, it's going to depend on whether or not the Buffalo Sabres really start to get into that sell mode, which is rinse and repeat from the past few years. We're always saying the same thing about Buffalo. They never seem to get better. And for guys like Alex Tuch, for Tage Thompson, for some of the goaltenders they've got over there, you just can't help but feel really pity for what's going on in this franchise and just the level of success that they have not been able to achieve the past few years. So could that potentially lend itself into some Vancouver Canucks trade conversation? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, let's take ourselves a pretty big shift in conversation here. Start talking about the Montreal Canadiens, because there's a lot to dive into with them too. Spectre's Hockey from earlier today on October 15th gives us the latest on the Habs. Take a look at this. On TSN, Pierre LeBrun is reporting the Montreal Canadiens' next priority is re-signing Mike Matheson. The 31-year-old is eligible for UFA status in July. LeBrun said Canadiens management wants to re-sign Matheson, and the veteran blue liner and his agent are interested in having that discussion. The contract will be the issue, as he doesn't want a short-term deal. LeBrun speculates the sweet spot could be a 4 or 5 year contract. Finding the right AAV will also be a factor. Now, this has been quite the interesting discussion to have, because the Habs already have some defensemen locked up, Dobson, Gooley, Hudson, of course. And you would assume that those three, with Alexandre Carrier, would be your de facto top 4 guys heading into the future. Heck, swap Carrier for Reinbacher and you have essentially what the Canadiens want in their system. But that's not how things have been playing out so far this year. Matheson's been with Dobson, and he's been pretty good. Like, Noah Dobson's defensive acumen has really boosted the quality of Mike Matheson's play too, which I'm not sure is too surprising for Canadiens fans who already understood just how good Noah Dobson was, but it's a welcome change in the way that Mike Matheson has been moving and defending from last season to now. Spectre's note goes out there and says this, that Eric Engels is reporting that Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis and several Habs, including Suzuki, think highly of Matheson's play. He's become more comfortable in his role as a big-minute blue liner, especially now that he's paired with Noah Dobson. Matheson is finishing an 8-year deal with an AAV of 4.875. The Canadiens have the cap space to sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal with an AAV of $6.5 to $7 million. Given his value to the Habs, it won't be surprising if that's what he gets from them. So now we're talking about contract numbers and whether or not Mike Matheson is going to be sticking around with the Habs, but based off of all the stuff we've heard heading into this season and with the way the team's playing now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Montreal Canadiens were able to get a deal done for Matheson sometime soon. It just seems like an inevitability at this point, so if you have any ideas or numbers you'd like to toss out there, let me know in the comment section below how you feel about all of this stuff. Also, if you're a Canucks fan still sticking around, what are your thoughts on the idea of Alex Tuch coming over to Van? If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, then hey, the dislike button is down there for you. Comments help out with the algorithm, so I'd really appreciate it if you got involved there. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.